There's been a little problem in the cockpit.
Cockpit? What is it?
Hello, welcome to my office. This is the project study space. This is my clinic. This is where I hold space for all of my patients and the clients that come in that need calming down. I am Gang, I'm a psychotherapist, and I am with Gold Diggers tonight. Every week we have a mental health minute tip, and tonight is a little more interesting for me. It will be a little broader than usual, but I really want to cover it because it's a bit past the first year of us being in the pandemic, so this might help. And I really like this because it's a combination of two of my favorite words, the science of safe. I love science and I love being safe. And I need to let you know the reason why it's important to study this because I think everything we do and most everything we get involved in and all our reactions and all our responses is really just so that we feel safe. When we are in a situation where we don't feel safe, that's really when all things go to shit. Seriously, think about it. When we all come from a place of calm where we are assured and safe and not evaluated or judged, sometimes we're nicer people. So let's study this. This is going to be part of your mental first aid kit because as we all know, we're not just bodies, we are also minds, and our brains, which are the seat of everything mental, is also terribly wonderfully connected to our bodies. We cannot separate that. Both these aspects is you, both mental and physical health is health. So, first things first, let me discuss what is trauma because I want to cover trauma responses tonight. Trauma is actually what is left behind after a difficult event. It's really that, okay? Not everybody understands this when they always say, oh, that's such a trauma when it's something overwhelming. But actually, the trauma is not the event. That's a traumatic experience. The trauma is what's left behind. Ano yung memory, ano yung reflex action mo. Just to give you an example, if you ever burnt your hand with a red picture, sometimes you see a red picture, you're easily reminded of that trauma, and that's a trigger. And so there are various types of traumas, and not everyone experiences trauma the same way. Some are instant, some are long lingering, and some will last a few weeks. So everyone experiences trauma when there's an experience that's overwhelming, and then this is the effect on us left behind. If you actually watch mga CSI, trauma is actually signs of trauma, meaning may nagulpi dun, so there's black and blue. So this slide is, I actually really like this slide. I want you to read it. All traumas are different, which means you may have the same trauma as other people, or you can be with the same group of people in a traumatic experience, and the trauma effect on all of you is different. For example, three friends in a car accident, one will take weeks to recover, one will have nightmares, the other one parang wala. So it's really a mystery still. Actually, it's not as cut and dried as A equals B and B equals C. Trauma really varies. There are as many trauma variations as there are people. So don't let anybody tell you that your trauma is nothing. Don't let anybody say, "Oh, wala yan, kaya na ng ano ng beer yan or kaya naman itulog yan." So I also have this expression I always hear Filipinos use, "Uy, may gamot na para dyan," as if it were that easy. We know things aren't this easy. Some are, but when you experience something and there's a lingering effect, don't let anybody dismiss it as tiny because trauma is trauma, pain is pain, no matter what the size. I want to talk about trauma responses tonight because we already covered this. I'm sure you've heard of fight and flight, the first two, because fight and flight are pretty obvious. If you sense as a danger, kapag may threat, kaya mo ba siyang i-outdo? So you fight. Or if you analyze the danger and say, oh, I think I can run faster than this, you flee, you run away. And then you freeze. Okay, I want to discuss the last two with this slide. The last two is, they're not as known and they're not as discussed, but freeze is a trauma response where you don't move, where you don't move. I read a lot about this in in the bombing in Paris when there was a Bataclan shooter. A lot of the survivors said, "I froze. I played dead so that they won't detect me. I laid low so that the offender will think they don't need to hurt me anymore because I disappear." And you know what? As adults, we're really there are many ways to freeze. One way of freezing is you don't share your opinion. One way of freezing is you don't ask a question because you're afraid you froze. It's really interesting, no? And fawn, oh, let me describe fawn. Fawn is a quite misunderstood, always uh, always the what's the word, the most ignored trauma response. But this usually happens when the threat comes from an authority figure or a caregiver that's either narcissistic or psychopathic. Kahit hindi. Halimbawa, let's just give you an example. This isn't even a political example. I mean, it's just the most obvious. This is a psych talk. But if you look at the Duterte government, there's a lot of people who really overtly praise it. I mean, there are many good things about the government, also many bad things about the government. But there are some people who like 100% just praise it like it's celestial, like it's ethereal. They're fawning, and I think I know why. Because the Duterte admin really expressed its brawn to society regarding the drug war, etc. And a lot of us know, even as children, when you have a leader like this, you when you praise them, you are on their good side, and therefore you stay safe. This is one of the more misunderstood trauma responses. So I'm gonna pause because I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry. Okay, I don't have to sneeze. Nawala. Anyway, so on this slide, I want you to know that when you have trauma responses, your big responsibility to yourself is that you have to learn how to regulate it. Okay, we discussed regulation before. It's not an on-off switch. It's a volume button. There are many ways to regulate. You can interactively regulate by asking another person to help, and you may self-regulate, as you see on the last column. So our mental health tip for tonight is the last bullet point of the self-regulating slide, actually. So if you could follow my instructions, it would be awesome. So place both your hands on your heart. If you don't want it on your heart, like a little on the left side, you may also put it in the center of your sternum and like kind of press down, medyo firm, para you kind of ano tawag doon, you simulate the feel of a weighted blanket. Then silently inhale, and then exhale twice as much, twice as long. And only if you can, try to listen if you have your heartbeat. Can you feel it? And then the inhale and the exhale is really interesting. Don't just bow your head slowly with the inhale. Touch your chin. It's a weird feeling because normally, and then when you exhale, bring your head up. Okay, and that is really a primal hand gesture of saying, I am safe right now. I'm safe right now. You know why? Because a lot of our traumas are happening when we're already safe. We're remembering an unsafe time and saying, like for example, if there's a lion attacking me, that's a crisis moment. You need to run or flee or flight. But if you hear a roar from a recording and you remember the lion, kahit walang lion doon, pareho yung reaction mo, that's trauma. So you need to remind yourself, I am now safe. So it actually looks like this. And when you inhale, and then when you exhale, just scoot back. Kasi, which means this is the neutral position. This is the neutral position. Of course, while you're at it, you can go ahead and move your neck again and move your shoulders because blood flow always helps. We already began our sophomore year of the pandemic, so we have to be slowly become experts in self-regulating our feelings and our nerves. Okay, that's your mental health tip for the night. Have a good evening. I'm having a terrible evening, but I really needed to share this with you. Good night. Next week.